Hello and good morning. I want to thank you for joining us today with this month's Coffee Talk with Nico. We are entering the fourth quarter of 2022, so I want to walk you through some branding touch points to be sure that you're on your game and aware of what fits under a branding umbrella. So thank you for being with us today, and let's get going. So I'm really excited to be here, and I'm excited that you're here to listen. Julia. So I am Nico Fisher, and I am a proud owner of a company called Skywriting by Nico. I work with a couple of people who are amazing, who allow me to do my job and do it well. So I love my job. So I'm basically a project management specialist. I'm also a trainer for baby boomers, and I'm a social media in-staff trainer, which means that if you have staff that want to learn how to do social media, I can show them how to make it effective for you. I'm a co-organizer for Maui Business Brainstormers, a SCORE mentor for the Hawaii chapter, a co-founder of Maui Social Media School, and a very proud Maui Native Hawaiian Chamber of Commerce board member. So I'm really excited about that, being on that board, because they have some great stuff coming up, and I'll be sure to tell you all about it. And today we're going to talk about branding touch points. So a branding umbrella means one thing that I'll share with you in a little bit, but the touch points are things, they're things that we are judged by. And I say that because we do a lot of judging, whether we think about it or not. We've been so accustomed to be online over the past 2 years, basically doing most of our stuff online, that we have some definite, we make judgments in split seconds as to whether we're going to click or whether we're going to move on. So some of those things that we judge are image, sales, content, traffic, growth, and your social media. Okay, so it is really interesting. I think about companies that have been around forever, and they are judged as well. We have become really smart about it. So what is a brand? I thought I'd just throw this in here because a brand, it's really important for you to know what that means. And it is basically an image or a slogan or a design that relates to a business. A goal of a brand is just to see an image or slogan and know what that company is. It sometimes takes years to get this underway, and I'll show you some examples in a minute. Branding is also your company's personality. So it's a reflection of many things, and think about the first content, whether it's on the phone or at the register. That's branding. Attention to detail and care for our customer is branding. We've become very aware of how we are treated. Nordstrom used to say, Nordstrom clothes company that I used to work with, they used to say that if you had a good experience, you'd tell 2 or 3 people. But if you had a bad experience, you'd tell 10 people. So branding is an all-encompassing of every touch point that you have with a client. And here is the biggest brand, and this is under the branding umbrella. So Mickey Mouse is under the brand umbrella of Walt Disney. If you can think of all the companies that are, or products that Walt Disney has, movies, characters, the Disney theme parks, all of that stuff, it all fits under the brand. But when you think of Mickey, you think about, you think happy. You think safe, you think, I don't know, it's kind of like you don't even have to think about Mickey to know that it makes you feel good. It is that ingrained in us. This takes place over years of good quality, of happy times, and solid service. So since we all have grown up with Mickey, we all understand what he is just by looking at him. So we know it's Walt Disney, but it's Mickey, right? So we're going to get into those branding touch points now. Branding is basically, we understand Nike, the swoosh, we understand all about that. But we're going to be looking at these few items. So I'm going to go into sales first. So actually, no, I'm going into image first. So as I said, sometimes it takes years to get comfortable with your brand. So if we take a company like Starbucks, you'll notice that the Starbucks, the first one in 1971, it kind of looks like a skull. It's not that clear. It says Starbucks fresh roasted coffee. So that is how they had to say it. Looks like they used the same font from then till now. So they kept that the same. And then the one over here in 1987 gets a little bit cleaner, right? You know, that's not a skull. That is actually a person in there. And it says Starbucks coffee. And then we get closer to 1992 and it still says Starbucks coffee, but instead of having all of this image showing, they just have a portion of it showing. And 2011, look at that. There, it doesn't say Starbucks, it doesn't say coffee, it just has the mermaid in place. And you don't even see all of her, now you see more of her face. So it's taken a few years for them to get to that point. So the funny thing about images or logos is they do change over time, but it still has the same feeling. Actually, this one looks like Pirates of the Caribbean, so it's a different feeling than this one. But it is, you know, it is the same thing, and we do grow, and along with us growing, the brands have grown as well. Even Mickey, remember the first Mickey that we saw was completely different than what we see now. So it is interesting how we grow over time, but that is how it actually works. So I wanted to get into sales, and I think this one is the first marker of social proof. So we've become smarter buyers over the last few years, and if we're looking to grow back to this fourth quarter, we need to be firing on all cylinders. So notice when we buy on Amazon, and I'll give you one example of buying on Amazon, but when I look at Amazon and it's an expensive item, whether it's a stationary bike or even clothes, I do a lot of checking before I do purchase. But one of the things that relates to branding is sales. And in this particular case, it's reviews. So the first one has over 8,000 reviews. So that bike is either amazing or not. So I want to get into that and read that. So the other two, 156 reviews or 259 reviews. So it gives you an idea which one are you going to click on first. So this is how we judge online through sales. So this happens to be reviews. So I'm going to click into reviews and I want to see what those say. I actually bought a stationary bike for my husband and I've never bought one before, so I don't know what to look at. But the first thing that I looked at were the reviews, because I'm going to go to the one that has the most reviews and I'm going to look at it, read it. The one that I looked at, I think it had over 300 reviews and only 2 of them were bad out of all of them. So that's the bike I purchased. But this is the way we judge online, is by numbers. And it's something that is really important. So if that is a marker and you do mostly online stuff, you want to make sure that you have a lot of good reviews. It is definitely a type of social proof, and that's what we're talking today. It's all under the branding umbrella. Next thing we're going to go into is content. So content is really important. The main thing we want to do is relate to the customer. So storytelling is now it's a strong business skill that needs to be implemented effectively, and it can boost a business in a number of ways. It can boost your business by improving your customer loyalty, creating a strong marketing strategy, or increasing profit and understanding who you're talking to. So the bottom line is, whatever your story is, you got to make sure that it's relating to the people that you want to be talking to. That is first and foremost. You know, sometimes we think, oh, I am great. I've been doing this business for so long and I know everything and I'll be able to help you. And when you say things like that, it's like, you know, that's not really effective. But if you tell me the story of why you got into this business and what made you want to teach and what made you want to sell and what made you want to do what you're doing, that's a story that I can get behind. And so we just want to relate to you. So if you're going to be telling your story, how are you going to be telling it? Are you going to be telling it in your about page or a blog post or a newsletter? All of those things can be effective, but you have to make sure that you're relating to the people who you're talking to. A timeline is another one that we have been working on lately with a few people who've been in business, you know, for over 20 years. And that can be really important because people can relate to that. Next one we're going to talk about is traffic. So traffic seems like a really strange touch point for being under a branding umbrella. But to me it is, because I'll take traffic indoors first. So if you go into a store and you're the only one in the store, that's fine. But you're judging the store by a number of things: by smell, by touch, by feel, and friendliness, right? So when you're online, it's a different kind of feeling. It is, you need to make sure that you're making people feel welcome and easily navigated. So when you're in a store, you have to be able to walk through different places. You don't want to have all of your stuff close in, so people can't get through it. Just like online, you need to make it nice and clean and easy to maneuver. And when enough people are in that store, it's going to be a better visual for others who want to enter. So that's something to consider, whether you're in brick and mortar or you're online. Growth is another huge one. So looking at our fourth quarter, we want people to do as much business as possible here in October, November, and December. You have to think about how you're getting people in the store. You also think about how you're going to get people back. So we always think about how we're going to get them in the store, or we're going to get them online, and we're going to have great sales and all of that. But the very next thing you have to think about in that same vein is, how are we getting them back? What are we going to be giving them when they leave? And some people do it with a 15% coupon. If you purchase before a certain date, take 15% off of your total order. Or you can make a promise via email that if they come in between a certain time, they get a break on pricing. Or you can even do it through a drip campaign to get them to come in, and then have them a good call to action. But the most important part, that's all really important, because you need to entice people, but you also need to make sure that you have the people available to take care of those people online and in your store. Growth is huge, but growth really starts with that one-on-one transaction, how they feel when they leave. If they have to return something, how is that going to feel? If you're online and you have online sales and there are a bunch of questions, someone needs to be there answering those questions. It is a part of growth. So whatever you're doing to get customers in, you need to think about how to get them back. And that is hugely important. I can't even tell you. My dog is trying to get in right now. So I'm going to, if you hear him, that's what's happening in my door. Little bugger. Anyway, be aware of not overtaxing your customer service online and in the store. Think about growth strategies, and growth strategies start with customer service and how people feel when they leave. Attention to detail is really important. And then social. How the heck does social fit into all of this? It fits in everywhere. Social media is where you can inspire, educate, and entertain your audience. You can share key dates, client experiences, and share when new merchandise is coming out. It also fits in with customer service, as I was just talking about. If you have sales and things that are happening, you need to have people communicating back to them. Be sure to use direct messaging to connect, use emails for offers, use text to update, and use social media to connect with disgruntled customers, as well as sharing content created by happy clients. So it's a full gamut of what we deal with on a daily basis, but it's just online. And sometimes you have to answer quick. So social media is probably one of the most judgy places I think I've ever been. I feel so bad for some companies sometimes because, business is hard. Business can be really hard because you try your hardest to make everybody happy, but there's always going to be one person who might not get what you were trying to do. You might lose one, but in most cases, if you're yourself and you're telling your story properly and you're relating to clients, you're going to be just fine. But making sure that throughout the holidays, if you're having specials and if you're having things that are happening on your website or in the store, that they're going to be taken care of. So mailing list was not on my list of touch points, but if you're thinking about customers, getting customers in, you have to be thinking on the same vein of how you're going to get them back. So you have to have a plan in order to entice the client for a second purchase. If they come in for this, what's going to be the next thing? What would be a good thing that they can purchase or sign up for or join? Consider a mailing list, which can be essential in these areas. If you're not collecting email addresses, you are missing out on continued sales opportunities and potential retention. So be sure to add a pop-up sign up on your homepage or on your Facebook page. And if you're going to send people things, what do you want them to do? Do you want them to watch a video, click on a link, or come in and buy something? You have to, for everything that you're putting out there, you have to say, I want them to do this. And that is how you get your stats of what really worked and what didn't work. So a mailing list is essential. And even sometimes when people have been in business for a very long time, they really didn't think about how important it was to have a mailing list. But that is a key thing to get people to come back. So it's really important. Blogging is another thing that you can get into to be storytelling or talking about products or talking about services. We're just talking about experiences. So stats show that overwhelmingly 77% of internet users report reading blogs regularly. But despite the consistent increase in number of people reading blogs, how we read them is pretty much changing. So typically a site visitor only spends about 37 seconds reading a blog. It means that most people are unlikely to read the entire blog post from start to finish. It's never more critical to create scannable content experience for your readers so they can find things quickly, get the answers they need, and scoot. So blogging doesn't have to be long, drawn out, 200 words, 500, 800 words, because obviously if they're on there for 37 seconds, they're not going to read much. So you have to be able to give them what they need immediately. You know, I do notice that on stories that I read online, they have usually bullets. My dog just opened the door, by the way. They have bullet points, so you can read those first, and then they continue on with the story. But you have to think about user, excuse me. It's getting ice. Okay, you have to think about user experience. So blogging is a great way to get your point across and to relate to somebody about an experience, a service, or a new product. So I don't want to say I like blogging, but I like the idea of it because it makes me feel like I'm sharing some information and that can be useful for someone else. So that's my aim. Everybody else has their own aim of what they want their blog to be. And, you know, however it is fine, but people do read blogs, whether you think they do or not, it is the truth. And so it can be whatever you want it to be. So website design has changed. So this is another touch point that we want to make sure that we talk about. Web design has changed in the last few years. So currently the cleanest website designs are attracting the most attention. A clean website is simple and organized and is designed to give the best user experience. It loads faster, it's easier to use, it's professional and trustworthy, and easier for Google to understand. A clean website design is good business. So we started working with Naughty Cookie Lab, and I really love her website because it's really clean and easy, and all you see are these delicious cookies that make you want them bad, which is something that I do. I actually went there yesterday and got some because I got them. But basically that is where we are. So we have Q&A. Let's see, let me get back to this slide here, and if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Let me see what we have here. If we have any questions, I don't think so. So what I think I'll do is I will move along. So I'm going to get back to my last slide here and talk about next month, what we're going to be doing. November, right? Being thankful, client vendor appreciation. Basically, I'm going to be talking about networking. So networking with the clients that help you get through the year, with vendors that help you get through the year, and appreciating everything that they do for you, because the continued clients that you have are the ones that speak the most highly of you. And basically, it's networking. So I want to talk a lot about that next time. And I'm pretty excited about it because it means a lot to me. Networking is probably the thing I love the most about business, because you get to, as we grow in business, we grow with resources. And so networking to me is sharing my resources. And I'll talk about a lot of that next time. So I want to thank you so much for joining me. If you want to connect with me online, you can. You can go to my website or my email. You can send me an email if you'd like these slides. I'll send them to you. You can get me on Facebook, on LinkedIn, which is my favorite social media, Instagram, and my YouTube channel that has more coffee talks that you can take a look at and connect with. So anyway, I want to thank you all for being here, and I'm most excited about being able to bring this stuff to you. So thank you so much. I totally appreciate it. Have a good day.